And classic matches to controversial finish. Find out the good and bad moments from AEW All Out 2024 in this breakdown video, including why I thought AEW went overboard with booking decisions and missed the mark in a bad way with 1 star going over. All Out, from top to bottom, was a very good show. It had its highs and it had its lows, from the opener with Daniel Garcia and MJF, and all the way to the last 2 matches, which were controversial. The Bryan Danielson angle with the plastic bag, and the Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland match, including the needle and the chair shot. There was much more. Now, let's start with the good, and then we'll get to the bad. The good. Will Ospreay versus Pac. It was a complete barn burner. A classic match. The international champion, once again, prevailing. You can't get Will Ospreay to have a bad match. In my opinion, on pay-per-view, this guy always steps up and absolutely rushes every single time. What I also thought was good was MJF versus Daniel Garcia. Now, I didn't necessarily agree with the post-match angle because it just was very wonky and it didn't honestly make a lot of sense. Daniel Garcia obviously did the injury angle before All In. MJF lost the international title to Will Ospreay at All In thanks to Daniel Garcia's big return, only for MJF to lay out Garcia yet again, and then we had this match. Now, after the match, MJF wanted to shake the hand of Daniel Garcia, the same guy he tried to kill, and Garcia shook his hand, avoided a low blow, laid him out with a pile driver. Now, the reason they did that, according to Dave Meltzer, is because MJF is slated to take time off. We don't know how long, but he's going to. Then let's talk about the main event, just from a positive standpoint. Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland, it was a very good grudge match. We knew it was going to be ultra-violent going into it, and it absolutely did. I wouldn't say it was better than their previous match on pay-per-view, but I will say that it was a very good one, and they were able to... I like the fact that they brought in weapons before the match really started. I mean, there was a table, and they had cinder block and chains and chairs and all sorts of stuff. Thought that was good. Now, let's get to the bad. Let's start with the Hangman Page incident. Let's talk about the chair shot. Why are we taking headshots with steel chairs? Despite it probably being gimmicked, it's still a steel chair. There is a video on Twitter going around of Swerve getting hit with the chair. And you can clearly see from the fans' standpoint, when the chair, it was clearly gimmicked, when the chair hit Swerve, it fell backwards. The seat went backwards away from him, so it barely hit him, and then it went backwards. But still, it's still a steel chair hitting a man's brain. You only get one brain in life. Why are we doing this? I know people took issue with the needle incident. I didn't have an issue with it. I'll tell you why. People are afraid of needles. They just are. Out of everything that they did in that match, doing a sharp object into someone's mouth was probably the least violent thing that they did. They used a cinder block, like an actual cinder block. Swerve and Hangman had visible marks on their backs from taking bumps on a cinder block. That's just moronic, in my opinion. The chair shot will get all the controversy. The needle will get all of the talking points. But cinder blocks? Like, in a pro wrestling match? What are we doing? But reportedly, coming out of this match, Swerve, he signed his new deal before All In. A part of that agreement was that he would drop the World Heavyweight Championship to Bryan Danielson at All In. He would finish up his feud with Hangman Page, and he would then take time off. So that is that. That's why they did that. Let's talk about the Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale match. These women absolutely crushed it. They crushed it. This was a Chicago street fight. This was months in the making. They had been feuding for months after Chris Statlander turned on her best friend, and they needed a good blow-off match. And that's exactly what you got in this match. These women worked as hard as anyone could have asked for. They delivered in every single way that the men do in street fights and even more. They were given the opportunity to go out there and hit a home run, and they absolutely crushed the ball. They used various weapons. I love the fact that they used the light bulbs in a meaningful way. You have seen countless indie shows where they just use light bulbs for the fun of it. And they use it repetitively throughout the match. There's 3 light bulb spots in a match. This one, it was Willow hitting Chris. Chris did so she could get color, which told a further story, only for Chris to get the upper hand and spear her off the stage. I love that spot. They sold it very, very well. Now, here's where they went wrong. Why is the heel, who has already gotten the comeuppance on the babyface, who has already gotten all the heat, why is she going over in the blow-off match? That doesn't make any sense. Now, she's a CMLL champion, but the title wasn't on the line. This was just a straight-up street fight, grudge match. Why is the heel going over? Wouldn't the babyface get the ultimate revenge by beating her so sensibly that she couldn't take any more? And finally, the babyface got all the revenge out of her system, and then she moves on? Because if you're thinking of it from a babyface standpoint, why wouldn't she go after Chris coming out of this show, right? And Chris can get her heat back on Dynamite or Collision or Rampage or whenever she's booked in her next program. What are we doing? It's another loss for Willow, who previously, earlier this year, put over Mercedes Moné, right? So she's been losing big matches, and it comes down to a basic booking philosophy of, is the fans going to give up on her in big moments, right? She's one of their best baby faces. She's one of their top baby faces in that. And you need, as a baby face, to go over in big matches against big opponents with big stakes, because when you're in that spot again, which ultimately she will be, you want the fans to believe in her and that she could actually beat this person or win this title or come up in these big moments. They're more believable, right? It's much more easier for a heel to lose a match and then just simply get their heat back the next night. You can't necessarily do that with a baby face. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. But top to bottom, I mean, AEW, they put on long freaking shows. You have to know that going into it. But they absolutely crushed yet again. They crushed it. And props to them. They return, I believe, October 12th with the Tacoma show. So we'll see where they go from there. I could absolutely see Bryan Danielson retiring there, because it's either that or Full Gear. I guess they could do Revolution or the World's End pay-per-view in December, but I would say that October we may see the end of Bryan Danielson. Hey y'all, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, comment down below, and hit that button right next to this screen to watch another video.